it was him calling the day after my election, after I lost in 22. Like that was the most, like that was the, like that interaction. You know, he called after, the race. And we had a talk, and he gave me, some advice. Like I think about it almost every morning I wake up. It's almost become a mantra. And he's just like, you got to do the math. And that he just put it that simply. And like I knew exactly what he's talking about. He didn't have to explain it. And that's something that I think about like every time I get into to almost anything. It could be a bike race. It could be a marathon. Like I do the math. Do the math is something that I might even get it tattooed on me. Just do the math.
Welcome back, friends. Today, I drove without AC once more down to Madison, Wisconsin in 80-plus degree weather, sweating the entire time to hang out with a former lieutenant governor of the state of Wisconsin. My first political episode, so don't shoot me. I'm sorry. But I wanted to be able to speak with this man. Welcome to the show, Mandela Barnes.
And then don't shoot me either.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, seriously, it's pretty wild out there. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for driving up, because you live in Milwaukee, right?
I live in Milwaukee, but this was convenient, man. And I know I've driven from Eau Claire to Milwaukee, and I've driven from Eau Claire to Madison. And I know like that extra hour and 15 minutes makes a big difference. So.
Absolutely. And so you've been to every single city in the state by now.
No, not every single city, every single county.
Every county, though.
I've been to every county. A lot of cities. I don't know if you could do that in a lifetime, but
dude,
I have been to every single county in the state of Wisconsin.
So you were, I guess I'll give the like quick little brief summary if people don't remember Mandela Barnes from either him running or the smear campaigns when they were all over the place, or in your mailbox 100,000 times. But Mandela Barnes was our former lieutenant governor. He's from Milwaukee. After he was a lieutenant governor, he ran for Senate in a debate, in a race that was very publicized because it was a big deal against Ron Johnson, and came very, very, very close to winning a couple of years ago. And since then has disappeared from the public eye.
No, man. Disappeared is the last thing. It was a 1-point race, and I made the decision in 22. I had to make a choice whether to run for re-election or to run for the United States Senate. And there was just too much going on in the country. Yeah. And I felt that, regardless if I was lieutenant governor or not, the state was going to be in decent hands with Tony Evers as governor. And so I made that tough choice. I enjoyed every moment of being lieutenant governor for the most part. Like there were some challenges for sure being in any office,
right.
But it was a hell of an experience. Like that is how I got to travel to all 72 counties in this state. That's how I've gotten a wealth of experiences that I would have never gotten in any other place. But, after my time in office, right, like I made sure to still keep a presence in different ways, whether it's through grassroots organizing. That's how I got my start. I still get called up every now and then to go on CNN and get to offer my opinion on the situations of the day. And it's just a lot of flexibility right now, right, where I can still be as involved as I want to be and help other candidates get elected.
Yeah, you're helping 25 according to your website currently, right? So what exactly, and then we'll get to more of your story leading up to that, but what currently is your role with which organization?
So after my time in office, I had I guess three major things. One was my political action committee. It's called The Long Run. We help support diverse, groundbreaking candidates in battleground races across the country, and using my own race, my own experience running as the example, where there's a younger candidate, black candidate, like just not typically what people see running statewide, especially here in Wisconsin. And there are a lot of people in similar situations across the country where people say, "Oh, are you ready to run? Are you ready to run?" And then you get the question, "Can you win? Can you win?" And can you win is a legitimate question, but when you have demonstrated an ability to win and people keep asking, "Can you win?" then there's something underneath the surface. Sure. And that sort of hesitation has prevented some really promising candidates from getting the support that they need to run successful campaigns. Yeah. And so if we can offer a level of credibility to people running for office, say, "Hey, I know what I went through. It is very similar to what this person is going through. I'm telling you, this person is legit, the real deal, and can win if people actually get behind this person." And so we want to be able to help them out. And that's from we've endorsed at the local level, like the current comptroller of the city of Houston, all the way up to United States senators. And we've been able to get on the ground floor with some races like Ruben Gallego, like Andy Kim, like Angela Also Brooks. These were three people who were running in primaries that people counted them out. And they ultimately cleared the lane, won their primaries, and then went on to win the general election. And, we took some gambles. And look, we've lost a couple races too, and that's just life. That just happens. But that was a thing that I wanted to do to keep the energy and the momentum of my campaign going. I want to see it live through other people. And that's the most important thing. And a lot of times it's tough for people to make that choice because there's so much ego involved in politics. And people may not, want to lend their list, or maybe people may not want to lend their credibility to somebody else because they want it all for themselves. They want all the attention for themselves, which is why we're in the position we're in this country. I'm not sure how deep we want to go in that conversation, but besides the Political Action Committee, I took over an organization called Power to the Polls. And we're focused on engaging infrequent voters, looking back at my race. And a lot of this has, what these last 2 years have been for me has just been completely reflective. We had a challenge, not just here in Wisconsin, but other states across the country, Georgia, in Atlanta, I should say, Charlotte, North Carolina, Phoenix, a number of bigger cities in swing states where there was a decline in Black voter participation. There was a decline in urban voting participation. And so with that being said, we wanted to focus on the things that didn't go as we wanted them to. And we want to try to fix that, whether it benefits me or whether it benefits somebody else in the long run. The point is building up this democracy so that it can be as close to fully participatory as possible. So with Power to the Polls, we focus on those infrequent voters, people who may vote in one election here or there. We want them to vote in every single election. And in order for us to drive up voter participation, our focus has been on voter education, making sure we have an informed electorate. And the other project of mine is Forward Together Wisconsin. During my time as Lieutenant Governor, my focus was on clean energy and sustainability. And this group, Forward Together Wisconsin, is the driver to make sure that Wisconsin gets to 100% clean energy as quickly as possible. And we do that by helping out low-income homeowners with our revolving loan fund so that they can get energy assessments at no cost to them, so they get weatherization work done on their homes at no cost to them. We foot the bill. We make sure to make sustainable attainable for working families in the state.
Yeah, well, I mean, resources are there. That's the thing that people don't realize. Even just like at the local level with politics and stuff, all the time. I'm on the Parks Commission, like I mentioned to you. People come to me much less often than I'm sure they've came to you. And they're like, I hate this about our city. We need to change this thing. We need to change this thing. And I'm like, there's like 21 commissions in the city of Eau Claire, and they're all voluntary. I'm not getting paid to do it. Yeah,
looking
constantly. We only have like 5 people on our waiting list or something currently. Like
I'm telling you, I won't even sit here and say that they come to you less than they came to me. I got my start. I was the receptionist in Tom Barrett's office in Milwaukee in 2009. I know what kind of calls come through in local government. It was one of the things maybe like, do I really want to run for local office? Because I know how much work goes into it. You have this bold, ambitious agenda, but then all of a sudden, you get a couple people call out sick when it's time to plow snow, and then you got a catastrophic situation on your hands that you have to tend to, and it is real life. You are managing an entire city of people. It's not easy, and I think in terms of big, bold policy that I want to see moved in this state, big, bold policy I want to see moved in this country. But people need help, man. It's a tough time.
Well, and they need to see an example of somebody who's similar to them, or they need to have somebody push them to do it. Like I wouldn't have considered getting into politics at all until, as I was fundraising for the skate park for my whole life, basically, several city council members brought it up to me, and they were like, hey, have you ever thought about running for city council? And I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to do that. And they're like, well, what about a smaller commitment? I think you'd be great for the Parks Commission. And I was like, I don't know what that is. How do you do that? And they're like, well, here, I'll email you the application. You should do it. But me, especially at the time, I was like in my mid-20s or whatever and heavily tattooed. I'm like, I don't look like somebody that's on politics, But honestly, that's what we need, especially at like the lowest part of it is we need the most diverse group, and that's everywhere. But especially like in cities like Eau Claire, it's almost all older white people on all of these commissions because those are the only people who think that they're supposed to be on it and who have time and resources and all that to do it. Let's get back further though. I never heard, I know why you got into politics, which we'll get to that, but as a leader, what was your first leadership role? As a kid or anything, like a sports team or what?
I was the president of this group called Top Teens of America. It's a national organization. We have a pretty strong chapter in Milwaukee, still do. It's a group called Top Ladies of Distinction. It's a service organization, and they have the auxiliary group for teenagers in Milwaukee, and that's where I got my start. My senior year in high school, I was the president of that organization.
Did you work your way up, or they just like you were the president immediately?
I think I was I worked my way up. I think I was probably vice president my junior year. But yeah, like I got involved, and we did, a number of service projects. We had these regional conferences, national conferences, got to represent the chapter, and like that's what got me on this in this lane actually. And then in college, I went to Alabama A&M University, and
because of family, or why'd you go to Alabama?
Family.
Okay.
Yeah, family. My mother's side of the family, like pretty much all of them, went to Alabama A&M. It was.
Do you have extended family there or something?
No, my mother's from Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if I tell you a city, then you can log into my bank information, so I'll say that one.
Sure.
But my mother's from Alabama, and all her blood relatives are there. So I would go to Alabama once or twice a year growing up. I had visited the campus many times. It was something I was familiar with. My dad went to UW Milwaukee, but I wanted to leave. I wanted to just try something different while I had the chance to, but still have some sort of familiarity where I wasn't too far from home. I never felt like I was away from home being down there because I had a lot of family.
Sure. But high school boys, you're like, I need to get out of here. Anywhere is going to be way better.
Well, the other part is I graduated early, man. I was 16 when I graduated high school. So
wow.
Okay. I love my parents to death. They were kind of strict.
Sure.
Kind of strict. I tell people all the time, my dad is like one of the most liberal dudes I know, one of the most left people I know. He was a fascist in the house. Like the rules were crazy, man.
Put some miles between you.
Dude, so I couldn't do a lot, man. I couldn't really hang out like that in high school with my friends. And once I was 16, it was the right call. He made the right call. Let me just be very clear about that. He made the right call with some of the stuff, but sometimes he was a little overboard. But I knew if I went to college, I could have a little more freedom.
Yeah.
And so I got out of town, went to college in Alabama, and my first few weeks on campus, I got involved in student government, and elections came up. I ran for freshman class president. Disastrous outcome, just disaster, man. I got there, like I got in front of the people. It was time to give a speech. I like froze up. I bombed like you would never believe. And honestly, any speech I've ever given, like it's in the back of my mind. Like
you're scarred forever.
The rallies with Obama, the rallies with Kamala Harris, like it is always in the back of my mind, that freshman class president speech. Like I think about it all the time. I'm like, I cannot blow this. I cannot blow this. I cannot blow this. And I lost to this guy who, his name is Jason. We're actually still cool. We talk often. But lost to him. Like he was from Alabama. He knew everybody that was there. Right. Everybody knew him. He was comfortable. I'm speaking to a bunch of strangers. And so I lost. I learned my lessons. But I stayed involved though. I did stay involved. I didn't just walk away because it's too much. And much like now, it's just too much going on right now to walk away.
But that was before. So in all the stories that I've heard, you got really interested in politics when you heard a Barack Obama speech in what year?
That was 2004.
So was that while you were still in college? Or
I was still in college. I started 2003.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, started college 2003. So 2004 was when he gave that DNC speech.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what is this? This is wild. Like, because of my parents, right? Like they weren't in politics, but my dad always made sure I knew what was going on. Every election, he took me to vote with him. He's very active in his union, same with my mom. And so I knew people who were in every office. Like I knew the names. I had that familiarity.
Yeah.
And I paid attention to presidential elections, maybe some local elections I had paid attention to as well. But seeing Barack Obama, he stood out. He didn't just stand out as a black person. Like he stood out just light years ahead of anybody else who had a chance to present on that sort of stage. And it stuck with me, man. Like it truly stuck with me. There were like a couple other people too in school. Well, funny, bro. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. There was a woman I had a crush on, and she like really was into Obama. I was like, okay, all right. Well, this is this thing I should probably be into, huh? And there's also like just people around who are like, this is like, we got to get behind this guy. And I thought of like, yeah. We really do need to get behind this guy in some sort of way. I remember he came to speak in Birmingham, Alabama, and me and two of my frat brothers, it was only an hour and a half trip, but we drove down, got our free tickets, and we got to see Obama give a speech in Birmingham. This is 2007, I want to say.
At that point in time, it inspired you to be obviously interested in that and get involved. But did it inspire you in a way of like, well, if he could do that, I could do it.
Oh,
I
for
want
sure.
to.
It was something like, and it wasn't like just one of those things where, having suffered that crushing defeat my freshman year, like I didn't just think like I could just hop on a stage and give a speech like him, but it felt way more tangible.
Yeah.
Seeing him on stage, it felt like, all right, yeah, man, this dude his name isn't like anybody else's, right? Like he is, this is a person who is just different. Like he comes across as something that we've never seen before, which is very true. He brings a certain gravity. It's a certain magnetism.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but now it feels as something that is much more doable. I wasn't sitting there thinking like, yeah, I'll run for president one day. Like that wasn't the case. Right. But even getting involved in politics at some level. Yeah.
Well, I mean, unless you see somebody break that barrier first, it's really difficult. And I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people with you were the youngest lieutenant governor Wisconsin's ever had, right?
Well, and actually, I think one of the first few lieutenant governors we had, but that's like back when people were dying at 50.
Sure. Yeah. So it was a different time.
There were a couple of people who were like 34 or so, or excuse me, I was 31. There were a couple of people who were like 30 when they got elected lieutenant governor. I think one of our first 5 lieutenant governor. I was looking it up, but in modern history, certainly.
Yeah. But I mean, people in the city, like cities, a lot of time they're like, well, the government doesn't represent me, right? They think that often. And with you being 31 and a black male from Milwaukee, then all of a sudden a whole different demographic of people are like, oh, wait a second, this is possible to be involved in politics. Politics doesn't just represent the old rich white guy.
To the point you made earlier, people don't see themselves reflected in our government, in our politics, because our government does not reflect this country. It does not reflect the people in it. Like you mentioned being heavily tattooed, right? Like that's a thing, right? Like there's just the lack of representation is why there is a lack of substantive movement to actually benefit people. Mm-hmm. That's why everything you see that happens negatively, like it happens quickly. But the things that we need to improve people's quality of life, it happens so slowly because there's very little urgency, because even the people who vote in our interest to, as I will speak as a Democrat, I'm not even gonna make any assumptions. As a Democrat, like the people who are representing us, like I do believe they, in their heart of hearts, want to do the right thing. I do believe that they have the right mindset, but too many of them, and I can't say everybody, I don't do blanket statements, but too many people who are in office have just lost touch completely with the American people, have lost touch completely with the plight of American people, because they haven't had to, so many people haven't had to struggle. And this is across the board. And in my opinion, that is the assumption, in my opinion, for Republicans, that they just don't care to be in touch. But too many Democrats so often are struggling to meet this moment, because they're going to be okay regardless. Yeah. So many people around them are going to be okay regardless. And right now, we need people who are going to show up and fight like never before. Yeah. People need to fight as if we are staring down the end of democracy, because it doesn't just happen overnight. It's not some light switch. You look at any sort of fascist regime across the world, like things didn't just stop as they took over. Sure. Like life happened. Like there were still theaters, the cafes were still open. Yeah. And as that is the case now, things are still happening in large part in normal sequence, but there is so much in terms of our freedom that we are losing on a day-to-day basis. And as long as things continue to happen as normal, most people will be blinded by it, or most people will be blinded by that aspect of life, or those aspects of life. Most people won't even stop to consider what's going on because they aren't directly impacted. They still have a job. They still have a roof over their head, and they are not in any imminent danger.
But I think what you said earlier, I want to attach to that of you saying that people are doing what they think is right the majority of the time. And I think that goes for both parties, and I vote the way I vote. But it's just like people do what they think is right based on their lived experience. And their lived experience is so drastically different. I had this conversation with somebody a few years ago, and I was like, I don't understand why you think guns should just be legal. And he was like, well, I live in the middle of nowhere. He goes, if I call 911, no one's coming to my house for 45 minutes. I have cats on my property and there's coyotes. I need to be able to shoot them. And just him giving me that like perspective was like, so there is a legitimate reason. Now, that doesn't change my view on guns, but it was just a matter of like, oh, your lived experience is drastically different than my lived experience versus me living in the city. I'm like, I don't want people walking around with guns because it heightens it heightens the interaction. People are going to shoot just because they're like, oh, you have a gun now, I need to shoot. It just changes the perspective.
Makes people so anxious.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a big part when we're looking at having whoever's on our councils, whether it's going up into Senate and everything else, or on the local matter. We need to have more diverse communities, not just from a racial standpoint, but from everything, from gender and religion, everything. Because those people, when we're making decisions, even with the Parks Commission, we can only make it based on what we understand. We have a huge Hmong population in Eau Claire. I don't really know that much about their culture. So how am I supposed to make decisions that benefit their culture if I'm not really that familiar with it? And the best way to be familiar with it is to have somebody from that community be in that decision-making, group. But it's hard to get them in it. Let's get back to, so you said your first job was on the phones, well, as far as politics, was on the phones for what campaign?
Well, it was actually, so I was a field organizer in Louisiana for a guy running for Congress, which that district now happens to be the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson's district. So cool. I was in Shreveport and I was in Natchitoches, Louisiana. And we lost that race by 350 votes, wow, which was a tough one. But it was, it was a tough one. Like we knew it was going to be hard. Had been 20 years prior that a Democrat represented, maybe even 30 years before a Democrat had ever represented that area. So with that being said, I got my crash course in a very tough part of the country. A lot of the district was rural, still is rural, I should say. And it just prepped me for, what was to come. Ultimately, I ended up going back to Milwaukee in 2009. And that's when I was a receptionist in Tom Barrett's office.
Wow. So when you do that, I'm curious as far as like how you actually build a career doing it. I know like when you get elected to lieutenant governor years later, there's a salary that comes with that. But when you're 22, 23 or whatever, and you're doing that, how do you even pay your bills? Are you when you work for a campaign, do they give you a small, like, here's $500 a week for work to get by? Or like, how's it work? Yeah.
So 2008, it was actually $400 a week. They did pay for gas, but it was $400 a week and supporter housing. And and that's the other part, like so much of this, one of the big reasons why there isn't a lot of representation, because it's hard for a lot of people to get in.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to be able to take that $400 a week job because I didn't have any real bills. I didn't have a whole bunch of student loan debt, or at least it hadn't even kicked in at that point. Not everybody can do that.
Right.
And even before I was the receptionist in Tom Barrett's office, I did an unpaid internship in Tom Barrett's office. And the reason I was able to do that unpaid internship is because my granddad had died the year before and left the house to the family. So I had a place to live. And again, I didn't have a whole bunch of bills to take care of. So an unpaid internship, whether it was for a month or 3 months, I was in a position to be able to take that sacrifice. One, again, being fresh out of college, okay, we can do this. I can tough it out for a little bit, but that's not everybody's reality.
Yeah.
And even, when I ran for lieutenant governor in 2018, I didn't have a job. And not everybody can make that sacrifice. I had a little bit of money saved up. I racked up some credit card debt.
Sure.
But not having a job while I was running for office was the only way I could do it, because not independently wealthy by any means, right? Like I don't run my own business. I'm not an attorney or a doctor where I can just like have a practice on the side and make the money I need to sustain myself. I had to make a sacrifice.
Yeah. So what was going to happen then if you lost that election when you were going to be like running
in 2018?
Yeah. Were you just thinking to yourself, I'm going to go be a bartender for 2 years?
I have bartended before, so I would have in many days. I'm like, I would.
You make a lot more money as a bartender than $400 a week.
Sometimes I'm like, hey, maybe I'll just give this another shot. No pun intended. But if I had not won the race for lieutenant governor, I would have. I'm just always with a mindset where I will try to figure it out. Sure. I don't want to let that cloud my judgment. I don't want to, like, whenever I'm running for office, I don't want to think about the undesired outcome. Right. I recognize it as a reality for sure.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to just be out there like, oh, I am doing this because I need to make a living.
No, but you don't have a contingency plan?
I try to focus on the task at hand. I'm serious. You focus on the task at hand. And do it if you do things the right way. Like if you run, what I've learned is if you run a campaign with passion, you show up with ideas, you show an ability to lead, an ability to organize, you can figure out the next step. Right. Yeah. And it might not always be easy. Sure. It might not always be easy, but I couldn't spend time thinking about like, okay, well, I need to start planning for, work, how to make money after. It's like, and look, that could be a reckless way to go about it. I fully recognize that. Like my method is not everybody's method. I got a lot of unorthodox tactics.
Sure. If you had two kids, you wouldn't have had that attitude. Right?
If I had two kids, I would have had that attitude.
If you had other things where it's like, well, for you, you're like, well, worst case scenario, I can sleep on somebody's couch and like I'll figure it out. It's not that big of a deal because you don't have as many people depending on you. When you were running for lieutenant governor, I don't actually know, and I think most people don't know how this works. For one, how do you officially become a member of a party? Do you like go and take an oath, and is there a whole like group of people they're like black gowns and they're like, you're a Democrat for life?
So that's the funny thing. Like every state does it different, right? Like some parties nominating rules or some states nominating rules are different for parties. In Wisconsin, you can run as whatever party you want to run as. Oh. That you could,
you can say you're Democrat without having any actual...
People might be shocked to learn. Like, I'll point to the former sheriff of Milwaukee County, David Clark, right? Like, he was no Democrat in spirit, by any means. But he ran as a Democrat and was the sheriff. He's one of Donald Trump's closest allies. So it doesn't matter. However, if you are running in a primary, you register when you go run. You don't register as a member. You don't have to go join the party. You don't have to join the party if you're running. So you get your nomination papers. You attest to what party you want to, what banner you want to run under, and you get your nomination signatures, and that's the way it goes. Now, for lieutenant governor specifically, because it's tricky, like I spent so much time, so much breath explaining how to run for lieutenant governor because our process is different here in Wisconsin. There are 5 states that use this hybrid process. Like, some states that the candidate for governor will pick a running mate, and you have some states where the governor and lieutenant governor run independently. But in Wisconsin, you run in the primary independently by yourself. You have to win the primary. And then the winner of the primary for governor and the winner of the primary for lieutenant governor are matched at the top.
Arranged marriage.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work out. Like there have been some horror stories of, governors and lieutenant governors not getting along. Yeah. That is a bipartisan thing. The governor and I, fortunately, it worked out for us.
Yeah. When you're running, what all goes into that? Like, for one, what people... I feel like they don't realize the different scales. Like if you want to get involved in politics locally, if you vote in local elections, your vote matters a lot because there's only 5,000 people that voted in this one thing. I'm just throwing a number out there. But for a lot of things, the actual number of votes is not that much. For something like lieutenant governor in the primaries, the voter turnout is nowhere near presidential.
Right.
So like what was your winning vote number for that?
Yeah, I had like 300,000 votes in the
so that's still quite a bit. So then if you ran did you like officially become a member of the Democratic Party and then they helped fund that part of the campaign? Or how did that work?
I had been a member of the party
Yeah, okay.
Before.
What does it mean when you become an official member of the party? What do you actually do for that?
Pay like $15-$25.
That's it?
Yeah.
Do you get a little ID card?
You do get a card.
Oh, cool.
There's a card. You get a card.
Sick.
So yeah, it is a very simple process to join the party. Is what a lot of people don't know, right? There's no oath. And for people,
Right.
That's one thing. Like, I do fully believe, top to bottom, national, state, local parties need an infusion of energy and an infusion of ideas. And a lot of people who might be, even to the left of me, would say, yeah, well, I don't want to be a part of the party because the party is, well, the party is what people make it. And, it's like a pretty low barrier to entry to get into the party. And you'll get some people say, yeah, well, I tried to join the party and they didn't like my ideas or this. I'm like, well, if you only spent 6 months to a year trying to do it, it's not going to happen. You have to understand, these are people who joined the party decades ago and committed themselves to a cause. So that's one thing that like frustrates me. And I do understand the immediacy of the issues we do have. But in order to really, really get involved and make that change, it takes time. Yeah. And you really do have to participate. Nobody's going to see a person who just shows up and like, oh yeah, this person should be in charge or all their ideas make sense. That's not the way it works. Like,
you have to have some history there for them to know that you're not just like
credibility,
excited for 3 months and
not
going
some
to get bored.
snake oil salesman.
Yeah, for real.
You got to like put in, like, you do have to put in work.
Well, there's a lot on the line. And if you want people to take that risk and put money behind you and like stand behind you with their own careers and everything, like
there's that. And also, I mean, if you do feel that passionate about your ideas, run for office. Like my first office, I ran against an incumbent member of the Democratic Party for state representative. He and I are actually really good friends now. So I got nothing bad to say about him. I actually recorded a podcast with him last week.
Oh, cool.
And so we're good. But I had some disagreements with him politically, and I decided to run against him. And, there were members of the party. The mayor, who I was a receptionist for, endorsed against me, right? Like that, it's either you get in and you make the sacrifice and commit to doing the not so sexy parts of it. That's another thing. Like, so much of this work is just not sexy. It's not fun. It's not the thing that's going to be on TV. It's not going to always be some viral social media post. Like, there is real grunt work that it takes to, one, make a party function, two, even more to change the party in any sort of real way. And it takes organizing work. Like, bring people in with you. If you feel that a political party, whether it's Republican Party or Democratic Party, if you feel that those parties aren't serving you, show up, get involved, and make your case that way. Demonstrate how this vision for moving the party for whatever party that might be, get in and demonstrate how it actually works and how it actually functions and how you can be a vehicle to grow the party, to grow the movement.
Well, a lot of times they don't know, again, like whatever the thing is, like I knew from fundraising with skate parks that like talking to city members, like they just didn't understand. They had no perspective on it. They didn't skateboard. None of their friends skateboarded. They didn't have kids that skateboarded. So they didn't understand how much, they had no idea how much it would cost. They didn't understand that people would use it all day long. They really just didn't have a perspective on it. So unless you bring up, hey, I have a perspective on it, let me educate you on why this is important, then you almost can't blame them for not seeing it. Because they have no idea.
A lot of it is abstract. A lot of it is abstract, but I will say that the party belongs to the people who take the time to make
absolutely
it function.
So when you was the first office that you held then, since you had lost that other one, was the first one you had the lieutenant governor?
No, I won that race.
Oh, you did win that one.
Yeah,
okay.
I won my first race for state rep.
What all went into that? I mean, obviously you had joined the party, but then was that your full-time thing for 6 months? You were just knocking on doors around the county? And
it was another one of those experiences where, I did have some fortune where I had a place to live.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to at the end of it, right? I didn't have to worry about food. I could always get some food from my parents, right?
Sure.
Like that was the thing. My parents had no problem showing up, bringing me food. Yeah. And when I ran for state representative, it was the 11th Assembly District. I had, some good friends who came to volunteer on the race, who made sure that it worked.
Sure.
And it was a lot of door knocking. It was a bit of, fundraising. Had to raise. It wasn't that much. It was like 20,000. I think we raised.
Oh, that's not bad.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, it was 2012. Certainly, those numbers have increased. It's not the same now.
Sure.
But for the primary, 20 grand.
How many people were on your team? You said some of your friends helped out, but it was all volunteers.
It was all volunteer. It was all volunteer.
Okay.
And so I had my experience in field organizing, and this is one of those races where I had 2,500 votes.
Sure.
And that 2,500 votes was 68% of the vote.
Sure.
And so it was door knocking. I knew what it took to win. I knew that we could do it on a slim operation. I knew I just needed to raise this specific amount of money. I knew that 20 grand for sure. I could have done it on 15. I knew 20 grand would ensure that I could run the exact program that I wanted to run.
Yeah.
And I knew that I could knock on 4,000 doors 3 times in that span.
Sure.
I knew that I could do it. And that's what it would take to win. That was a race that was won or lost on the doors, and I knocked on the doors.
How long was it before you felt totally comfortable with people just closing the door on your face?
I'm still not comfortable with it. I'm still not comfortable with it. I was just like, man, I don't want anything. I'm trying to help you.
Sure, but people don't know that. They think you're a salesman.
Yeah.
So when you get that position, is that a salary then from the state, and it's like a livable income anyway?
I mean, for a 25, 26-year-old single dude with no kids, 50 grand went a long way.
Sure. When you then went and ran for lieutenant governor, the team must have been a lot more than your handful of people, right?
So funny thing, when I ran for lieutenant governor in that primary, it was mostly I had one person on staff, a guy, Justin Belinsky. He's a county board member in Milwaukee now. So he ran my campaign. We had a few interns that, we were able to scrape up some bucks for.
Sure.
But mostly volunteer.
Wow. In comparison to a governor race is a drastically different level.
Way different. Now the Senate race, that was...
Right. Yeah. Which we'll get to. So I am curious. I want to talk a little bit about the personal side of it, because not that I'm a person of note by any means, but just having anyone know who you are, all of a sudden it just opens up these doors for people to spread rumors about you, to say this, that, or whatever. They have this preconceived notion of who you are, anywhere that you go. And I actually legitimately tried to Google this this morning. I was like, what are the suicide rates of politicians? Because mental health, it's such a crazy amount of stress to be able to put on you. I know everybody faces this, so it's not just you. They face smear campaigns because that's the most common campaign strategy, it seems. What was the first time that you experienced having a smear campaign against you?
Yeah, it was definitely during the Senate races when it got real.
There was nothing before that?
No, the race for lieutenant governor wasn't that bad. I mean, after lieutenant governor, once I got elected, there were weird stories like parking tickets, right?
Sure, yeah.
There's a parking ticket story that just got blown up, and all of a sudden it went from having a parking ticket to having a license revoked, which is which just, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It just one story just turned into a crazy just rumor.
Yeah.
And that was wild. And then when I talked about too recently, when I ran for lieutenant governor, I did that without a job.
Yeah. And
there was a story written that I didn't pay income taxes for 2018. And it's yes, I had no income. This is true. I did not pay income tax for 2018. Sure. There was no job. There was no income to pay taxes on. And that's the other part too, where this assumption is, there must be some income, right? Because we're so used to wealthy people running for office who generate income from various sources,
right,
where theoretically they pay something. And so the idea that this person who does not come from wealth, it becomes a thing where, well, what's going on here? What's the situation? What's the deal? In the story, it was mentioned that I was on Badger Care. Yeah. Yes. I would not like to accumulate medical debt.
Right.
I would like to have health insurance. And I also believe that every person in this country should be covered with some sort of health care, right? That's what I am fighting for. This is very on brand. I want everybody to have this level of care and service.
Yeah. But those smear campaigns don't affect you as much because they're ridiculous. What was the first one that really got to you?
The problem is sometimes they do, because they get taken out. It's just I am I am being attacked for an American reality.
Yeah.
Right. And it's part of it you take personally, but the other part of it too is like, yeah, well, this is like one of the reasons our politics is so screwed up, because this is every day. Like, this is not even scratching the surface. Like, some people, their lives are way, way more difficult than that.
Totally.
And for those folks, it's like, dang, this person's being attacked for the life that I live every single day.
Yeah.
It was a snapshot in time for my life. But for the people who have been faced with these adverse and challenging circumstances in a system that was just never meant for them, it makes it even worse. It makes it more difficult, and that's why why so many people lose faith in politics, why people lose so much faith in government.
Well, everybody has things that if they could go back and do it over again, they're like, nah, should have handled that a little differently, right? Like, there's times of me when I was going through my divorce where I'm like, I didn't really like who I was, because I was just really depressed. I'm sure conversations I had with people, I was like, I probably came across like a jerk because I was so unhappy during that time frame. And if you took something out of context from just that snapshot of who I was, I'd be like, yeah, if you ran into me at a bar in the summer of 2021, I was probably mean. I don't know. I was probably selfish and came across like a jerk because I was so unhappy. That's not a representation of who I am, but things like that can be taken out of context. So going back to, again, what was the first one where it really got to you, and how did you process it and like come to terms that this isn't going to stop you from wanting to be a politician?
Yeah. And I would say too, I guess the thing that probably came to a head where there's this like random reporter in 2019 also, and like I said, I went into very deep credit card debt. Like, my property taxes, you pay monthly installments. I'm like, all right, well, I actually have to I need to get out of this credit card debt first, because this interest is very high.
Yeah, for real.
I need to pay these credit card bills. We'll get to this when we get to it. So it was like, like a couple months where it's like I decided to pay down my credit card debt instead of paying, instead of making my monthly payment, which I would have gotten around, which I obviously did. I was not going to lose my house, and it became a huge thing. And the Journal Sentinel wrote about it, and the Journal Sentinel at that time was delinquent in their property taxes as they were writing about me, which was crazy. Yeah. And then it sparked like some reporter trying to make a career for herself, like showed up at Juneteenth and asked me about it. I'm just like, dude, this is Juneteenth. This is Juneteenth. Y'all, hey, this is Juneteenth. They want to talk about property tax.
Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes not happy with questions from Fox 6. He stormed out of an interview after being asked about his unpaid property taxes.
We're not here to talk about this. This is Juneteenth Day. This is the 165th anniversary of the freedom of the enslaved Africans in Texas. This is the question you want to ask me today. I'll be glad to set up an interview with you to walk you through this whole thing, but it's very disingenuous, to show up like this. So it's stuff like that, and the stress too at that moment, of being in office, because there were some unrealistic expectations. Like, if you are like being a first, and I'm not making any sort of excuses, because I put my name on the ballot. I decided to run. I decided to serve in office. You take those arrows as they come. But there was really a whole lot, there is, you are under a very real microscope, because it's something people just haven't seen before or experienced in the state.
So they put these expectations on you,
wild expectations, even from your friends.
Sure.
And even as lieutenant governor, where it's like, you realize there's a lieutenant in front of the title. I cannot make these decisions. So if people were upset with the governor about something, a lot of times that came down on me. Like, there were people who were really mad about some things that didn't go the way they thought they should have gone. But it's like, all right, there's nothing I can actually do about this.
Right.
I would like to. I'm with you.
Yeah.
But there's some limitations.
Yeah. But I mean, again, anybody can, this is the truth of the matter is, you do not have to be in politics to affect change in your community. Absolutely, for whatever the thing is that you want to do. You can raise money independently. You can go to, almost all city meetings are open to the public. You can just like decide, hey, I want to get 1,000 people to write and say, we would love to see this in our city, and send that to your, state representative. And then that will be what affects change. It's just like, regardless of if the fact that this person was elected into this position, there's still just one member of the community. like as a whole. They're only one person. So their voice may be a little bit louder, but it's not 30,000 people loud. You don't have the full authority to just say, well, I want this done. Let's legalize weed. Boom. I decided. It just doesn't work that way.
And there's so many things you could compare it to because, yes, you do not have to be in public office to make change. It takes work whether you are or are not in public office. Right. It takes work to get in office. It takes work to affect change from an organizing perspective. And you could look at it as building a career, building wealth. Somebody's going to win the lottery, of course. Like, some people don't put in a lot of work and end up, in office, right? That's the reality. It happens every now and then. It sucks when it happens because it's usually someone who's totally unprepared to be in office.
Right.
But for the most part, there is a level of commitment that is that you have to display, and people can see that level of commitment. And that's why sometimes people vote out of their interest, because they'll see somebody who is diligent, somebody who is going to put in the work, and that's what they want to see out of their elected officials. And sometimes they disregard the policy when making that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you are going through all of that and you recognize, like, each level that I'm going up comes with all these unrealistic expectations, comes with, smear campaigns and just all this stress, what then makes you decide that you still want to go that direction?
Yeah. You got to remember the reason you showed up to do it.
Right.
If you showed up for very hollow reasons or some, perspective of vanity, then you might say, I'm done with this, because you weren't there for the right thing in the first place. Like, I think about my anchors. Let me enunciate my anchors. You mentioned, you don't want everybody walking, we talk about, like, different issues, like what you don't want people having access to, walking around the city with, right? Like, when I was in high school, I lost 2 to 3 friends to gun violence before I graduated.
Sure.
That's something I carry with me.
Yeah.
And these are people who just were not involved in any sort of wild or crazy life. One of them, like, moved from Memphis, and he got shot over a pair of shoes. Another was just, like, on the bus stop, and he had a car. His car was, like, in the shop or something. I never forget, Antoine. I'll never forget any of them. But, like, he, was, like, on a bus stop and got robbed, right? These are people I was friends with, and those are stories I carry with me, forever. On a personal level, like, long before running for office, I was an adult on food share, having been on Badger Care. Like, these are real life aspects for me. And I know what my time was like living under those circumstances. And in comparison, it was nothing relative to what other people were going through or how they were living. Like, I think about the high school I attended, even middle school, elementary school. Like, there were students who, even family members, who gone to jail at an early age because they were trying to make a living. They were trying to survive.
Right.
And being around so many people who have existed in survival mode, like, all that has framed my thinking. All that has fueled my passion. And all of that is the reason why, one, I am still in it. Because I always say I believe that better is possible, which is a very true statement, because it is better for somebody. Yeah. And for a very select few people in this state, very select few people in this country, things continue to get better. I do not believe that should be as exclusive as it is. Sure. There's more than enough prosperity in this state, in this country, for people to not have to exist in the depths.
Sure.
And because of that, because of my firsthand experience, because me having dipped my toe in the water of struggle, right? Like, I never had to worry about where my food was going to come from. Never had to worry about where I was going to live. Like, live consistently in 2 different places growing up my whole life, right? We moved by choice because my parents sold the house and moved somewhere else.
Yeah.
The worst thing, we had a car repo once,
Sure.
That has happened. But for the most part, having a very limited amount of struggle and knowing from that snapshot, again, what life can be like or what life is like perpetually for some people, you just say, well, yeah, what I'm going through isn't that bad. This a lot of politics, a lot of it sucks. A lot of it is tough. But if the right people are not in office making the decisions, things are going to absolutely get worse for these people.
Yeah.
And these are people who I'm related to. These are my friends. These are the people I went to school with. These are the people I still know today, and the people I still run into. And I can't tell you like how many people from my life long before college or say like, man, you know, I never really thought about voting before. You know, you are the first person I voted. I got a text from one of my high school friends who had just recently gotten off of papers. He had just recently completed, you know, his probation. And he's like, he's like, I was able to get off papers just in time to vote for you. Wow. And it's like, times when I get frustrated, it's like, I guess I got to keep doing this, because like there are so many other people, you know, who are paying attention, who may not have otherwise been paying attention.
Yeah.
And in order for things to change, we need as many people paying attention and involved as possible.
But that's one thing I want to highlight is politicians, generally speaking, not everyone, there's bad eggs and whatever, but generally speaking, politicians high up all the way down, they're not doing it out of vanity. The majority of the time, there's exceptions. The job sucks. It's not fun. Like, people have this idea of like, it's just this lavish thing. They're making a ton of money and they don't care about people and whatever. You can make so much more money with way less stress in like a lot of different zones. Mm-hmm. If you're in politics for any amount of time, the stuff that you guys have to deal with personally is like, you're only doing it because you really feel it's important that you do it, that you are being a civil servant. I'm not trying to just like, I don't know, I give you way too many compliments or whatever, but I'm just saying that that's like, anyone who is in that position, they're choosing every day. They're like, this isn't the easiest route for me, but I'm going to do this because this matters. And I want everybody to think about that when we're sitting here, like talking all this shit about all these politicians on every level. Cause I've heard it so many times from skateboarders growing up as a skateboarder about how everyone at the city sucks. It's not true. These people are trying to do what they think is right the vast majority of the time. And it's not easy. There are other ways that they could go about it. We need to look at these people and go, how do I help? If they're not doing what I want them to do, maybe they just didn't hear my voice.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it because they think it matters. How do I contribute to this instead of just complaining?
Like early on, it was a lot of past content that was used, and we put it together and was just edited for the right audience, right moment, right event, right speech. And that was sort of a way for the campaign as well. And you know, if there was one thing in the campaign I would have done differently, like, because you want to have consistency, right? Like, you don't want to just get to a point where it's like, oh, I forgot to say this during this speech.
So you're repeating the same speech at each of these stops.
A lot of times, because you know, you don't want to be like, oh, I should have said this here, I should have said that there, and you want to be able to know, no, I for sure said this. I know I said that. But I would have done a little more freestyling. In the Senate race, I definitely would have done more. That was one thing. If I to do all over again, would have just been out there a little more, just free. But you know, at the same time, there's still a risk that comes with it.
Yeah,
there's a risk. You can always like not find the words, or if you have an audience that might be less responsive, like it makes it hard to freestyle if the audience is just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah.
So if you are saying the same thing, or you have this standard like stump speech, it's like, okay, well, I'm saying this here, I'm saying this there, we're going through this. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, then we'll have to regroup.
You did some campaigning with Obama because he was speaking on your behalf during or not speaking on your behalf, but he was campaigning for you, right? Does he do the exact same thing? Is it the exact same speech every place he goes?
I've watched a lot of Obama speeches, and the speech that he gave in 22 was rare form at the rally for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was a rare form
That's
speech.
the one you could just find on YouTube, right?
Yeah. It's on YouTube. It's pinned to my Instagram page.
And that's what I mean when I say democracy is at stake in this election. And that's why it's not enough to elect Democrats like Mandela Barnes and Tony Evers. You've got to elect good people up and down the ballot.
It is like, I just never heard him speak like that. He was so direct in his challenges of other people. Like, it was something I hadn't necessarily seen before. And even in my most scripted speeches, right? Like, if there's time to throw a joke in there, I'm doing it.
Sure.
I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Like if there is something in the audience, I notice it, I'm gonna adjust quickly.
Sure.
I'm gonna make the pivot. That's like, it's also one of my most favorite things to do during the speech. And one thing sometimes I travel to give speeches, like different state parties, different organizations, conferences. Like I'll try to talk to people prior to the event, and
get a feel of it.
More often than not, you'll get a nice anecdote to be able to provide. Like, oh yeah, I was just talking to Steve about this, and you throw it in the speech, and then it makes it so specific and so personal to the audience. That's one of my favorite things to do as well.
Besides your freshman year of college, what's your most embarrassing moment on stage?
One of my most embarrassing moments on stage would have been, so it was a smaller stage, and my team gives me a hard time about this all the time. I'm still in touch with a lot of people from the campaign. There was a mix. I mixed up two different people. And long story short, there was an event, and I was done speaking. This could have been completely avoided. And the person came up, he gave some words, and then I was like, no, I just got to say something. He was like, it's okay. I was like, I just got to say something. I took the mic back, and I thanked this person endlessly for contributions to this and that. And then my friend was in the audience. He's like, no, stop. I was like, what? And I was like, this person should be thanked. And then at the end of it, like, that's the wrong person. It wasn't the person I thought it was.
Well, I mean, thankfully, things like that, they sit in your memory, I'm sure, much longer than they sit in other people's memories.
Yeah.
So
hopefully.
Yeah. You've gotten to campaign around a lot of people. Like, you've been around Kamala a lot. You've been around Obama a lot. You've been around Evers, obviously, quite a bit. What are your favorite individual moments that weren't on camera with each of those, with Barack Obama, with Kamala Harris, and with Governor Evers?
Okay, so with Kamala Harris, it was probably 2 years ago. I was in New Orleans. I was out for a run, and it was very hot that day. And I get a call, see the 202 number. I was like, I should probably stop my run and answer this one. No telling who it is. And sure enough, it was Vice President's office. And I was like all out of breath. And she's like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm out for a run. And she happened to be in New Orleans too.
Oh, okay.
It was for Essence Fest. It was almost 2 years ago to the date. And she's like, yeah, I hear you in New Orleans. Like, yeah. She's like, and you're running? I was like, yeah. She's like, Mandela, it's hot. I was like, I know. She's like, you shouldn't be running. You need to stop running now. And I was like, all
Thanks,
right.
Mom.
And so then I stopped running. And then at the event later, she's like, do y'all know he was just outside running? And then I would bring it up. And I remember when my mom got to meet, Kamala Harris, and we developed a relationship. She would give me a hard time. And so I told my mom, I was like, yeah, she yelled at me for going to run in New Orleans. She's like, I was not yelling at you. I was giving you tough love. And then my mom was just like, she's like, that's the best baby in the whole world. I'm an only child. So my mom was like, that's the best baby. She's like, the whole world. So it was, that was a series of moments with Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Barack Obama, so he spoke, I met him for the first time in 2018 when I was running for lieutenant governor. We had a chance to speak. What was cool is, before I ran for state rep, I was an organizer for this group called MICA, and it's interfaith social justice organizing, and it's a part of a larger network, and it's the same network that Barack Obama was organizing for in Chicago. And I got to have this full circle moment and tell him, hey, yeah, I was organizing for, Camille. Some of the same people were there who was there when he was there. And, he's like, oh yeah. So we had a moment there. Then 22, we got to have a longer conversation. But it was him calling the day after my election, after I lost in 22. That was the most, that was that interaction. He called after.
Yeah.
The race. And we had a talk, and he gave me, some advice. I think about it almost every morning I wake up. It's almost become a mantra. And he's just like, you got to do the math. And that he just put it that simply. And I knew exactly what he's talking about. He didn't have to explain it. And that's something I think about, like every time I get into to almost anything. It could be a bike race. It could be a marathon. Like, I do the math. Do the math is something that I might even get it tattooed on me. Just do the math. Yeah. So that was probably the best moment with him, having to have getting to have that conversation post election. And then the governor, I don't know, man. It's almost too many to count, right? Like, when we were on the campaign trail in 2018, it was just no shortage of stories. Like, he is a way more lively person than people would even realize. And he was telling me about this story, like when he was a principal, and I think it was in Toma, and it was just a long story. Basically, I don't want to give too many secrets, but his children had to clean up a big mess in the neighborhood that he accidentally created, and it had to happen before the sun came up. And I'll leave it there. But it was a great story.
Wow. With that, I have a lot of people's phone numbers that I would never give out. I know the standard practice of, like, someone gives, like, I have Jacoby Shadix, the singer of Papa Roach. I was backstage with him because I know his brother, and I took a video of his brother on stage, and Jacoby's like, "Can you text that to me?" And I was like, "Sure. What's your number?" And he looked at me and he's like, "You're good." And he gave me his cell phone number, and I'm like, I'm not gonna give it to anybody. But I think about that sometime where I'm like, I have, like, so many people's addresses and phone numbers that definitely cannot get out there. Yours has to be insane when you're in contact with people, like all these different officials, like Obama and everybody. Are all those numbers just, like, secondary through somebody else, so that way they protect all that? Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, Kamala or anybody, is in general, when you get up into higher politics, is there a level where it's like, well, if it's a governor, now all of a sudden automatically those cell phones never go out? Or how does security work with all that info?
It depends on the person.
Sure.
Depends on the person. According to my staff, way too many people have my number.
Sure.
they try to convince me to change my number. Like, too many people are calling you. Too many people are texting. You have to change your number.
Sure.
I didn't. I probably shouldn't say that out loud.
In case anybody has it from before.
People still have it from 2001.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This is a political question, just because I'm curious, and I feel like this is asked by people all the time, but no one ever really answers it. Do you think term limits should exist for all positions of power?
So,
regardless of who's in it.
Yeah. So, more than term limits, I do think there should be age limits. I mean, there are people, law firms purge attorneys when they hit a certain age. You know, there are lots of jobs you just can't take after a certain age. Like, in other parties, sometimes, why would you want to?
Right.
I think that term limits, so I go back and forth on it.
Okay.
And the reason I go back and forth is because I think about my time in the assembly, people who had been there for a while versus people like me who had not been there for a while. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot to learn from people who have been there for a while.
Sure. A
lot of the institutional knowledge, the very real understanding of the legislative process, the historical context, the ins and outs, the maneuvering. The thing is, if there aren't term limits, or if there are term limits, then that institutional knowledge sometimes just resides in the lobby corps. It's the lobbyists who have the most information, the most understanding, and ultimately the most credibility in many ways. So that's my big reservation. I do think that Supreme Court, for instance, I think there should be term limits, and it shouldn't be a lifetime appointment. If you look at Congress, like 4 terms in the U.S. Senate is still 24 years. That is a reasonable term limit.
Yeah. Okay.
In the U.S. House, 10 terms is still 20 years. Like, that's even 15 to even 30 years, right? Like, these are reasonable term limits.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like people are just getting pushed out. So I guess I just talked myself into a yes.
Yeah, I think that it's really hard to make a blanket statement because there's so many exceptions to various things, and it's not like one term or lifelong. Like there's a balance there, and no matter what, where you put that line, it's not going to be where the line should be for some people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's how all things work within the city and stuff too. When you make a decision, it's not going to represent 100% of people. It's just not how that works, unfortunately. I have a bunch of like kind of random questions for you. You're a big runner, obviously. What's the furthest you've ever ran? Mine's 10K. That's the furthest I ever
ran. No, marathon is the farthest.
You've never decided, like, I'm just going to keep going?
I'm not into ultras, man. I'm not. I have friends that do ultras, and I just have zero desire to run more than 26.2 miles. I've done Ironman before, so, there's a lot, prior to running the 26.2 miles. But, like, actually just running.
You're a beast. What's your fastest marathon time?
3:15.
What about your fastest individual mile? You ever tried to just sprint?
My fastest mile I think was I want to say 5:30.
Mine's 6:42. I'm really slow in comparison. But I have like, I think you're 3 or 4 years older than me, so I have time to get into the best shape of my life still.
You got time.
Who is your favorite, or who do you think is the most underrated president ever that's not currently alive?
The most underrated president who's not currently alive. I mean, not without. I don't know that Teddy Roosevelt is underrated. I mean, he's on Mount Rushmore, so he's not underrated at all. Who's not currently alive? Wow, that is a. No, I might be stumped here. I mean, in terms of underrated, like obviously. Lyndon Johnson was not without fault, but he took some risks.
Sure.
He did take some risks. And I don't think he always gets the credit for the good things that he did.
I think that's the case with a lot of times people get demonized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there are people that are even worse than we think they are. But I think there's a lot of people who, a picture is painted that's not necessarily accurate of who they are.
Yeah.
Do you think, because I think with police reform, there's a lot of things that need to happen. And I know that was like a topic during your Senate race.
Well, they made it a topic.
They made it a topic.
I didn't.
But I think with politicians, like I mentioned with mental health, what do you think that providing therapists and requiring like one session a month with a therapist should be something government officials, like that's built into the government or not?
Like you mean for law enforcement or like as a function of law enforcement?
As not just law enforcement. And I'm talking about all senators, all these people that we clearly have like way too much pressure on them, and they clearly don't have that many people that they can really like talk with one-on-one about their feelings.
Well, I think we'd be in a much better place. Like you can tell by, and not even like agency heads as well.
Yeah.
Like some of these people like clearly need to talk through something. There's something going on in their lives that's either not fulfilling them or has created a wild sense of rage and resentment towards people.
Do you think politicians, are there a lot of them that do see a therapist? And is there a concern of like information that can't get out is going to get out?
So there's that part. There's also, we can go back to like the ego that is present in politics. Like there are people who are too proud to ask for help.
Yeah.
There are people who just refuse to and, don't think it's for them and don't have any outlet, who intentionally isolate themselves.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem is they definitely need to see help. What does it take for you these days to actually let your defenses down with people?
Yeah. I mean, I am fortunate that I have a lot of the same friends I've always had. Like in my group chat, I have friends from high school.
Sure.
Like my group chat of like 6 people, 2 of those dudes I've known since '99.
Yeah.
And there is just a level of trust and understanding. And those dudes don't care about any position I've ever held.
Sure.
If I win something, if I lose something, they're still going to be there.
Yeah.
And so that's just not always the case with people. Like in or out of politics. Like it's very rare for people to still be, close friends with somebody they've known since the late 90s.
Yeah.
Since the 1900s, I should say, as the youth call it. So that's just been one of the most helpful things for me, knowing that whatever happens in my life, like I'll still have people who are close to me.
So you don't bring new people into your life
I know
very
I do.
often.
I do. I have new people that come in for sure.
What
For
does it
sure.
take for you to, how long does it take for you to feel comfortable knowing that people are the right people around you?
It takes a while, man.
Because the wall's got to be up a lot higher than it used to be, right?
The walls are certainly up, for sure. Walls are certainly up, and for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Right. The walls are up. So that can make relationships difficult.
Yeah.
Can make friendships difficult. Because a lot of times you just don't know, and one, you don't know, and two, they don't know.
Right.
Like I've met people before, and their expectations are just all over the place. Like my availability, right? Like in general, like it is not going to be what a person, may have experienced before.
Sure.
Or like even in terms of like dating, it's like, hey, do you want to go to this place? Like, not really. Or like, what's your ideal day? Or like, do you want to do this? And like, sometimes it's like, I don't know that I just want to do that yet, because you can't just be, I just don't want to be out and, you just, and when that was the case, it was like, you just don't want to be out in public. Right. And it's just like, everybody assumes like that's your girlfriend. If it's not, and next time you show up at the same place with somebody else, it's like, oh, well, there he goes again. You don't want to create that sort of reputation.
What would it take at this point for you to run for senator again?
Yeah, timing. And that's one thing I've been pretty clear. Like, I'm not going to run for something just for the sake of running for it. Also not going to rush into running for office. Like, it has to be the right time. It has to be the right moment. And I would not run if it didn't make sense.
What are the things that would make it the right time?
Yeah. A part of it would be, I would take an honest look at who else is, like thinking about it. And if there's somebody that it makes more sense, like I'm confident enough to say, okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Sure.
Like I remember after Joe Biden got elected, I got called by the White House. There was this position. They were looking at 3 people for the position. They told me, they said I was one of them. And then I told them, yeah, I'd be interested in, considering the role for sure. It was a sweet gig. And they made the decision, obviously wasn't me. And the person they picked, I'm like, oh yeah, I like reached out to them. I'm like, this person makes perfect sense for this role. Like if I knew she was in the running,
sure,
I wouldn't have even said yes.
Yeah.
So if there is a moment where it's like, okay, yeah, I really want to get behind this person.
Yeah.
I'm humble enough and comfortable enough in my own skin to get behind somebody else.
So if Kamala was like, I want to run again and I want you to be VP, you'd say, I can't say no to you, Mom.
I can't. You've already, yeah. I can't say no to you.
Okay, last question. When you do something that you're passionate about for a living, you get to have really unique experiences, and they're rarely financially driven, but they are what make all of the headache and all the hardship worth it. Can you share a story of unique experience like that for you?
A story of unique experience for me, I mean, again, it was running for state rep. Probably that first time. I had my ideas, I had my vision, I had my frustrations with things being the way they were. And all the things I was frustrated with probably weren't going to be impacted by 1 seat out of 99 in the state assembly, for sure. But if I had a chance, if I had a platform to at least talk about them, to bring some light, to bring some more sort of attention, to bring a voice to talk about these things that had not been previously discussed, I was all for it. Also having a chance to, I still visit schools, and like having a chance to go back to whether it was my school or schools that were like mine, with a similar student population, to be able to sit and spend time with them. Like that's something that means a whole lot. Yeah. Like, and I tell people, like I would do that for free if I, could have a place to live still, and food to eat. Right. Like I would do that for nothing. Yeah. I remember, I was at a fundraiser in like 2014, and I was like, yeah, I'm a state rep. And then someone was like, yeah, what do you do for it? I'm a state rep. She's like, well, how much does that pay? I was like, 50,000. She's like, well, how do you live?
You're like, that's the most money I've made.
I thought I was getting over.
Yeah. Dude, that's incredible. Well, thank you so much for making this happen. Let me give you a couple of gifts, and then I want you to shout out where people can find you in all the socials and in general, how they can support your mission moving forward with the different places that they can donate and all the different websites. So first, here's some headphones from Skull Candy.
Oh, dope.
These are the new Dime Evos. Those are $59.95 normally, but those are fancy and gold and Bluetooth and incredible. There's coffee in front of you.
Oh man, thank you.
That bag.
You don't know how long I've been looking at this coffee.
It smells really good. That's Minimum Wage Tim's coffee. That's my buddy Tim Frederick over in Minneapolis. You can get it at minimumwagetims.com, as well as a lot of different coffee shops carry it. And then you can pick one of the coffee mugs on the table.
Oh yeah.
I got this one with the little logo, and then the little clock one that says time to put in work. Whichever one you want is all yours.
Oh man, this is like a hard choice. Like that one is so metal.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta go with that one.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, yeah. Shout out. Where can people find you on the socials, and where can they go support all of the things that you're working on?
Yeah, I am at the other Mandela on all my handles. Instagram. I am never on Twitter these days.
Yeah.
Facebook, same thing.
If somebody wants to get a message to you where you'll actually read it, not saying you're going to necessarily respond, but where you would see it.
Where I would see it. So I will say even our contact box is monitored.
Sure.
And if somebody will see it, and if it's cool enough, it'll get to me.
Sure.
If you're into sending cool messages, this contact at mandelabarnes.com. You can try. Sometimes, look, it is tough sometimes, like sifting through Instagram DMs. Take the chance if you want to, but it's tough. I can try to get to it, but sometimes it's a little more difficult. There's the message request, and there's the hidden messages. Sometimes Instagram makes it tough to get to things, but you can try that.
Dude, honestly, most people, unless they got like 1 million plus followers, most people see them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they respond to everything because they don't have time, but almost everybody. I interviewed Lamorne Morris a long time ago, the guy who plays Winston on New Girl, and he's like a celeb.
Oh, well, that dude's like one of my favorites.
Dude, he's incredible. And when I interviewed him, I had never even seen New Girl at the time. And here I am at his house in LA, like interviewing him, joking with him, like, dude, I've never seen anything you're in. I just like had a mutual friend of his or whatever.
Yeah.
But he told me, he's like, once a week, scroll through. He's like, just to see if there's something that's like I should respond to, and I respond to what I have time, but I do see them all. And he was like, almost everyone I know outside of like Tom Cruise or something, most people still see them, even if they don't respond. So sending a positive message to somebody, just saying how much you appreciate what they do, they will likely see it.
Yeah, I try to do once a week or once every other week to do a little quick scroll.
That's how I got a hold of you. Do you have a newsletter or anything that people can go sign up for?
We don't have a newsletter right now.
Nothing like that.
No newsletter right now. I try my best to be active on Instagram.
Yeah.
Let people know what I'm up to.
Dude. Well, everyone's going to have to go follow you on Instagram. Follow Passion Pod on Instagram if you haven't already. PassionPod.org. You can get merchandise if that's something that you're into. There's Patreon where this episode will go early if you're into that. You can also find the show on YouTube and Spotify and Apple and literally everywhere else.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.